Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with the latest headlines this morning. All set for the big match at the Cricket World Cup. India meet Bangladesh in the second quarterfinals at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Karnataka opposition parties demand CBI probe into IAS officer DK Ravi Kumar's death, the alleged attempt to cover up mafia links exposed by officer. Islamist gunmen stormed museum adjacent to Tunisian parliament. 19 people killed, including 2 terrorists. And US Federal Reserve signals that it's ready to hike interest rates. RBI Governor Rajya says India is prepared to tackle any eventuality. Our top focus on the bulletin this morning. After an unbeaten run through the preliminary round, defending champions India played their biggest match of the tournament thus far today. They will need to continue their good form against Bangladesh at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in the second quarter-final. The men in blue are high on confidence and are unlikely to change their playing 11. The Indian bowlers have played a major role in the team's success. The most encouraging fact has been bowling out the opposition in all their 6 matches. In their knockout game, they will have to come good on the flat MCG pitch that could produce a very high-scoring game. Bangladesh, meanwhile, are playing their first-ever knockout match in the World Cup. They'll be looking to repeat an upset against India they achieved in the 2007 World Cup. India will be wary of informed batsman Mohammedullah and all-rounder Shakib Al Hasan, both of whom are in top form. Joining me for a chat this morning is senior sports journalist Jaideep Ghosh. Jaideep, good morning. Thanks for joining me on the program.
Pleasure.
India versus Bangladesh. What do you expect? A cracker of a game, or do you expect it to be one-sided?
I would expect a good game, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a close contest in terms of being run into the last over of the 100th over of the day. Given that Bangladesh is playing their first ever knockout match, and we seem to fall back on her 2007 defeat way too often. We seem to forget last year we knocked out Bangladesh for 58 runs in one match. So it's just a matter of who plays well on that day. But given India's experience and their ability to convert wins the way they have been doing in this tournament especially, I think the best you can expect is a good match, but unless there is a rain or some other delay, I don't think Bangladesh can beat it.
Rain, interesting that you brought rain up. Rain could play a factor in this particular match, but if the game is washed out, then it works out in India's favour, doesn't it?
Well, if it's washed out, then it pretty much is back to square one for both. So that really doesn't matter, in the sense that we're just starting from scratch and the situation remains pretty much the same. Yeah, but if it is a 25-over match or a 23-over match or 30-over match, then there can be a little bit of a dodgy situation depending on how you're placed. If it happens in the middle of the innings, it affects your asking rate. So those are things that you can't really cater for, but I guess you'd always want a 100-over match and get it sorted out in the first day and not wait till the next.
Indeed. And do you think nerves are going to be a big factor in this particular match?
I don't think so, not for the Indians anyway, because it's a very been there, done that kind of team. They have won the World Cup. There are many players who know what it is like to win a World Cup. And playing Bangladesh or any team for that matter is like playing a home match. Anywhere in the world India plays, it's a home match because the crowd is about 80% Indian. So no nerves, no. Yeah, a little bit of keenness because this is the first knockout match. But I mean, given the experience and the confidence, I don't think they'll be too nervous really.
The top order, the Indian top order, all the batsmen, seem to be in pretty good nick. All of them have scored runs in this particular tournament. All of them have got a look in as well. But, what's really stood out this time around is India's bowling performance. What has changed in the World Cup?
A couple of things. I think, first of all, the break that they got after the tri-series with Australia and England, I think that was a great boost because they just needed to get out of cricket for a while, for 10 days, 15 days. I understand Dhoni took some of the bowlers, went fishing, people went home, people went to meet relatives. Just get out of the game. And once you come back, you have a little more of a, you rejig the combination. Then you start off well. And let's not make any mistake, the India-Pakistan match is more hype than actual contest because Pakistan has never matched up to India. Once you get that out of the way, that is a tremendous confidence boost in terms of bowling, batting, everything. And after that, the bowlers have not tried to be too adventurous, which is the biggest thing. They have tried to keep to the basics, and that has worked out brilliantly for them. And let's face it, we don't have the tearaway bowlers who can destroy sides. But they still got all the sides that they played out within 50 overs.
Yes.
So I think that's a great achievement, and that is something that has obviously worked in wonders for the Indian team right now.
Who would you think would be the standout players of today's match?
The batting obviously. I would be expecting that Rohit Sharma should be getting a few more runs somewhere down the order because he's not really done well throughout the league. I think Ravichandran Ashwin is the bowler who's going to make the biggest difference because Melbourne is a huge ground and the Bangladeshis are not known for playing on the ground. They are, they play in the air a lot. And for a spinner, if you can, put a little bit of a lid on them, they will try to attack him and play him in the air, and in Melbourne, crossing the boundary is pretty much impossible. So all air balls pretty much land inside the ground and mostly in fielders' hands. So I think if Ashwin bowls a good spell and if Jadeja can back him up, then I think these two are the crucial bowlers for us. And obviously the seamers need to do what they've been doing well so far, which is just keep it tight and let them make the mistakes.
There's talk in the media about whether or not Rohit Sharma should be given another chance. Do we stick with the same 11 or, what happens next?
Well, if there was going to be any change in the 11, it would have been in the league. Nobody's going to take a chance in the knockout phase because, see, Rohit Sharma in limited overs cricket is way too good a batsman to fail frequently. And somewhere down the line, it was the same thing was being said about Shikhar Dhawan, and look at how he has panned out in the second half of the World Cup so far. So, no, I don't think there will be any changes, and if there were any changes to be made, any experiments to be done, that would have been done against teams like maybe Zimbabwe or Ireland earlier in the league, not in the knockout. And I think this is going to be the team, unless there is a fitness issues, right till the final if India makes it.
All right, Jaideep, we'll have to leave it to that. Thank you so much for joining us in the program and putting things into perspective for us. Well, moving on now, a day after massive protests across Karnataka demanding a CBI inquiry into the death of IAS officer D.K. Ravikumar, the political opposition has taken forward the demand alleging he was murdered for being a whistleblower who was cracking down on illegal dealings of people with the government. Police had termed, I beg your pardon, the death as a suspected case of suicide, saying a CID probe was enough. Here's more.
Anti-government protests by Karnataka's opposition leaders and lawyers in Bengaluru, an outright rejection of the CID probe ordered into IAS officer D.K. Ravikumar's death, rejecting the police's hurried suicide theory, insisting it was murder to stop a whistleblower in his tracks. They staged a dharna at the assembly through the night.
We are going to give call to the citizens and overall the responsible person to fight against the misdeeds of this government. We request them come to the street and to demand this government hand it over this issue to the CBI. Everybody has to protest against this government.
Karnataka opposition MPs met the Home Minister in Delhi asking for action from the centre.
We are requesting the Home Minister to take a very serious steps as far as this issue is concerned. It is fair on the part of the state government to refer the matter to the central CBI so that CBI can have a free and fair investigation in the matter.
36-year-old IAS officer Ravi Kumar's family has joined in to reject the suicide theory. Kumar, who earned a reputation as an upright officer, had recently taken over as Joint Commissioner of Commercial Taxes. He'd also taken on the Sand Mafia as Deputy Commissioner of Kolar District. Many of the real estate companies he'd pursued are owned or linked to state ministers. Even former Lokayukta Santosh Hegde has spoken up in favour of a CBI probe.
I think this is a case which requires high-level investigation. Since local investigating agencies can be influenced by the forces that are, I think the investigation should be conducted by CBI.
The Karnataka government rejects charges, insisting the Criminal Investigation Department or CID of the state police is perfectly capable of handling the investigation in the case.
ಸಿಬಿಐ ಕೂಡ ಕೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ರಿ ಇದು. ನಾವು ಬಹಳ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದೀವಿ, ಸಿಐಡಿ ಇಂದ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ನಿಷ್ಪಕ್ಷಪಾತವಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ತ್ವರಿತವಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ಸತ್ಯ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬರಬೇಕು, ಅದು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೀವಿ.
The case marks the latest tussle over the death of a man the opposition calls a whistleblower and their tug of war with the party in power. It almost harks back to the Durga Shakti Nagpal issue in Noida. Will a proper probe come to the bottom of this death? Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Let's now bring you the latest on the nun gang rape case in West Bengal. Under pressure from activists and the centre, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has decided to hand over the case to the CBI. This comes in the wake of an NHRC notice to the state government saying it is a clear case of human rights violation. Even though some people have been detained in the case, no arrests have been made so far. Here's more.
The West Bengal nun gang rape case will now be handed over to the CBI. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee tweeted, expressing the state government's willingness to cooperate and assist the investigation. The Mamata Banerjee government has been under immense pressure from the centre to do the same.
CBI charge hona chahiye. We've asked for a CBI. It's a very sensitive case. It has happened close to the border. We can also assure the West Bengal police will cooperate with the CBI. This is a decision of Mamata Banerjee's West Bengal government.
The decision came after the NHRC sent a notice to the West Bengal government taking a suo motu cognizance of the reports that the 71-year-old nun was gang raped inside a convent in Nadia district. Calling it a serious violation of human rights, the NHRC has asked for reports in the matter within 2 weeks.
Accept the fact that atrocities against women is something of a national concern, and instead of getting into such political mudslinging, they should try to arrest the culprits, and we are all aware that still now no culprits have been arrested.
72 साल की महिला का रेप हो जाए, वो गैंग रेप हो जाए और उस पर अभी तक कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हो, सच्चाई क्या है ये तो पूरा इस पर इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो तभी पता लगेगा.
As the clamour for justice grows, the Vatican Conclave's youngest cardinal appealed for justice and said that the miscreants should be arrested soon.
I met the sister and we prayed together and we prayed for everyone, and she conveys her love and affection and prayers and pardon to everyone. But justice has to be brought to the people who are affected.
The 71-year-old sister superior of the convent school in Ranagat subdivision was gang raped on Saturday. No arrests have been made so far, even though 8 people have been detained for interrogation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the Election Commission is planning to allow e-ballot facility to personnel of armed forces and paramilitary forces. Explaining the facility that exists at present for NRI voters, Chief Election Commissioner H.S. Brahma explained that they will be sent ballot papers electronically that they will have to return through either registered mail or courier to poll authorities. In a different development, the EC also issued show-cause notices threatening derecognition of 6 political parties, including the Aam Aadmi Party, for failing to file expenditure statements for the last Lok Sabha polls. The parties issued notices include AAP, People's Party of Arunachal, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, Kerala Congress, National People Party of Manipur and Haryana Janhit Congress. The CBI filed a case to investigate alleged wrongful gains of 578 crore rupees to a private multimedia company Devas by Antrix, the commercial arm of ISRO. Yesterday, the agency carried out searches at the premises of Devas Limited and then Executive Director of Antrix, K.R. Sridharamurthy in Bengaluru. The Antrix Devas deal saw the early exit of G. Madhavan Nair as the ISRO chairman, who also was the chairman of the governing council of Antrix. The CBI FIR said after the alleged omissions and commissions of the accused persons surfaced, the Cabinet Committee on Security headed by former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh decided to annul the 2005 agreement by Antrix Corporation. The accused government officials allegedly favored Devas by giving them rights for information services to mobile phones using S-band through GSAT-6 and GSAT-6A satellites and terrestrial systems in India. Well, it's time for a short break now, but on the other side, Pakistan Review Board to hear Lakhvi's plea on detention order. That and much more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of To The Point. The anti-hijacking bill now, where does it stand?
It made certain stringent laws. There will be any question from any side
About what you're doing as far as the tourism sector is concerned.
After all, it gives us a lot of revenue. It's almost about 6.88% of the
Almost 7% of the GDP. Yes.
Of the GDP.
Culture Ministry now. What are your top priorities?
5 to 7 minutes, depending on time. Introduction about that. This is what we should learn from the European tourist places.
Watch To The Point with Minister of Tourism and Culture, Dr. Mahesh Sharma, only on Rajya Sabha television. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the Rajya Sabha Select Committee on Coal tabled its report in Parliament on Wednesday, suggesting no modifications in the bill. The Committee on Mines and Minerals, however, endorsed 2 amendments moved by the government. The Congress left, JDU and DMK gave dissent notes. The Congress protested in the upper house over paucity of time for submission of reports and complained that the panels did not take the concerns of all stakeholders into account before finalizing the report.
The government has moved a step closer to clearing the decks for presenting the bills amending the Mines and Minerals Act and the Coal Mines Act. This after 2 select committees of the Rajya Sabha that were scrutinizing the bills presented their reports. The 19-member panel headed by BJP's Anil Madhav Dave on the Coal Mines Special Provisions Bill 2015 referred the bill back to the House without any changes. The report, however, contained 5 dissenting notes from Digvijay Singh, P. Bhattacharya and Rajiv Shukla of the Congress, and Tiruchi Shiva and K.N. Balagopal of the DMK and the CPIM respectively.
कोल माइंस के अंदर जो सिलेक्ट कमेटी की रिपोर्ट्स आई है, इस रिपोर्ट्स के अंदर कई प्रकार के सुझाव प्राप्त हुए थे सदस्यों के द्वारा, विपक्षी सदस्यों के द्वारा, विशेष करके जो मजदूर पूर्व में उन कोल माइंस में रह रहे थे, उनके हितों के संरक्षण का सवाल था। विषय था उसके अंदर कि इस बात की चिंता की जाए कि कोल माइंस के अंदर जो छोटे उपभोक्ता हैं उनके हितों का संरक्षण हो, क्योंकि बड़ों को तो कोल माइंस मिल ही जाएगी, पावर को मिल जाएगी, स्टील को मिल जाएगी, सीमेंट को मिल जाएगी, लेकिन जो छोटा उपभोक्ता है उसका क्या होगा।
The 19-member select committee chaired by BJP's Bhupendra Yadav on the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2015 also recommended no changes in any of the clauses but approved 2 official amendments to protect the rights of forest dwellers and tribals. This report also contained dissent notes from Shantaram Naik of the Congress, T.K. Rangarajan and D. Raja of the left and Pawan Kumar Verma of the JDU. However, the report suggested that the government consider at a later stage issues like impact of mining activities on the environment, rampant illegal mining, lack of proper and scientific mine closure, land acquisition and resettlement, and capturing windfall profits for the welfare of local and tribal communities. Leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Nabi Azad, however, registered the Congress party's protest. Azad said the bills were not referred to parliamentary standing committees as demanded in the first place. He also asserted that the government turned down the opposition's demand of presenting the select committee reports in the first week of the second part of the budget session of Parliament.
On behalf of my party, we want to register our protest against the manner in which the Mines and Minerals Regulation and Development Amendment Bill 2015 and Coal Mines Special Bill 2015 are being rushed for passing.
Defending the government's stance, Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi said there was no provision for a discussion on presentation of the Select Committee report and that members could raise their concerns during the debate on the bill.
At the time of the discussion, you can discuss all the objections, but why you are objecting the report?
However, dissatisfied Congress members marched into the well of the House, shouting slogans against the government, forcing a brief adjournment.
House is adjourned for 10 minutes.
Two key bills aimed at reforming the coal and mines sectors were referred to separate panels after the government buckled under pressure from a united opposition. The select committees were asked to submit their reports by March 18th. The government is in a minority in the Rajya Sabha, but it managed to get the Trinamool Congress, the Biju Janata Dal and the AIADMK on board, tilting the power scales within the committees in its favour. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And let's now bring you up to date with the other national news and updates in our segment Nationwide. The Aam Aadmi Party has decided to go national. Party leader Yogendra Yadav welcomed the party's decision, saying it had been a long-standing demand of his for a long time. Yadav and Prashant Bhushan are likely to meet Kejriwal next week after the vote on account on the Delhi budget. Allahabad High Court lawyers called off their one-week-long strike in protest against the killing of an advocate. The strike was called off following a meeting with the Chief Justice. 30-year-old advocate Nabi Ahmed was shot dead inside the district court premises allegedly by a sub-inspector after an altercation. Solar-powered aircraft Solar Impulse took off from Varanasi today on its maiden round-the-world flight. The aircraft landed in Varanasi on Wednesday evening. It will next halt in Mandalay in Myanmar. The aircraft is designed to demonstrate the effectiveness of clean technologies and the importance of sustainability. Let's now take a look at the news and events lined up for today in our segment The Day Ahead. Home Minister Rajnath Singh will attend an international conference on counter-terrorism in Jaipur. The three-day meet will discuss issues like maritime terrorism and piracy and chemical, biological and nuclear terrorism. Former Chief of Sri Lankan Army Sarath Fonseca, Admiral Jammers Loy will be some of the international names at the sessions. Lawyers of all 6 Delhi district courts will stage a protest outside the house of Law Minister D.V. Sadananda Gowda today. The lawyers want immediate enhancement in the pecuniary jurisdiction of lower courts from 20 lakhs to 2 crores. The Ajit Singh-led Rashtriya Lok Dal will hold a rally in Aligarh against the land acquisition bill. RLD leader Jayant Chaudhary will address the rally. Supreme Court's decision to quash reservation for Jats could also be a key issue at the rally. A Pakistan High Court review board will today hear the petition of 2008 Mumbai attacks mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi against his detention order. Lakhvi's counsel argued the government had no legal ground to detain Lakhvi, who is detained for another month before his likely release from Adiala jail. Moving on to some international news now. Armed gunmen blazed their way into an art museum adjacent to the Tunisian parliament on Wednesday, killing 19 people. 2 attackers were shot dead. World leaders expressed solidarity with the Tunisian president, who vowed to fight the threat of Islamic radicals.
Another terror strike, this time in Tunisia. Armed gunmen in military uniforms on Wednesday stormed the Bardo Museum adjacent to the Tunisian parliament. 17 tourists and 2 locals were killed in the ambush. Security forces gunned down 2 militants and rescued the hostages. They are continuing the search for accomplices. The Tunisian government called it an Islamist attack.
كما قلت في الأول تستهدف الاقتصاد التونسي والعملية هذه تخلينا لازمنا نكونوا موجودين في نفس الصف ملمومين للدفاع على بلادنا.
World leaders condemned the attack and expressed support for Tunisia's counter-terrorism efforts.
Secretary General condemns in the strongest terms today's attack against the Bardo Museum in central Tunis and deplores the loss of life. He conveys his deepest condolences to the families of the victims of this deplorable act. The Secretary General also expresses his solidarity with the Tunisian people and the Tunisian authorities.
The United States stands with the Tunisian people at this difficult time and continues to support the Tunisian government's efforts to advance a secure, prosperous, and democratic Tunisia.
At the time of the attack, deputies in the neighboring parliament building were discussing anti-terrorism legislation. Parliament was evacuated but later reconvened for an extraordinary session in the evening. But the attack at the heart of the country's capital has not shaken the government's resolve to fight terrorism. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, the US Federal Reserve signaled an end to a prolonged period of historically low interest rates last night. In its latest statement on the health of the US economy, the central bank decided it was time to end its promise of being patient about raising interest rates. Economists now expect that interest rates could rise by June. In comments made just ahead of the address by US Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen, RBI Governor Raghuram assured that India was fully prepared to deal with the Fed's policy changes.
At a low point since December 2008, the US federal fund rate is all set to rise. Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen's address was seen to indicate this on Wednesday, although she emphasized that no decision has been made about when the hike will come.
Continued improvement in economic conditions, however, we do not want to rule out the possibility that an increase in the target range could be warranted at subsequent meetings. Let me emphasize, however, that the timing of the initial increase in the target range will depend on the committee's assessment of incoming information.
In earlier guidance, the Fed said it will be patient in considering when to bring monetary policy back to normal. On Wednesday, the word patient was dropped, which was interpreted by many to suggest that a rate hike was coming sooner rather than later. Yellen, however, repeatedly said there was no timeline for a hike.
Today's modification of our guidance should not be interpreted to mean that we have decided on the timing of that increase. In other words, just because we removed the word patient from the statement doesn't mean we're going to be impatient.
On Wednesday, US stocks rallied on as market watchers believe the US central bank head may have suggested a less aggressive timeline for raising interest rates. The Fed's cautious outlook on the economy also showed it remains concerned about the health of the recovery.
Force participation rate, the percentage of working-age Americans either working or seeking work, is lower than most estimates of its trend, and wage growth remains sluggish.
In India, RBI Governor Raghuram met Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Wednesday. News agencies quoted him as saying that the country was fully prepared to deal with the situation arising out of the Fed moves on rates. Rajan, however, did not rule out the possibility of near-term volatility in the markets, although he felt markets will be back to normal in the medium term. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the re-election of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to a fourth term has surprised many. With almost all votes counted, the latest tally gives Netanyahu's Likud party 30 seats in the 120-seat parliament. But Netanyahu's remarks that he would not permit a Palestinian state to be created under his watch hasn't gone down well with international leaders. The White House has condemned what it called divisive rhetoric. The US said it will re-evaluate its approach in the wake of his comments. The US, EU and UN have urged him to continue with the two-state solution to the Palestinian issue. Meanwhile, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said peace negotiations stood no chance without the two-state solution. The Greek Parliament approved a package of social measures that defied European Commission warnings on proceeding unilaterally. The Parliament bill was passed in principle by a majority. The first piece of legislation passed by the new government of Alexis Tsipras is symbolic of his government's pre-election promises to relieve austerity in the country. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.